Do you hear me now? Okay. Okay. If people can confirm this, I think the audio problem is solved. I think it's a lot better now. Yes, good. Okay, it works. Okay, right. We have good feedback about this. Okay, perfect, perfect. So again, welcome to this training. Thank you for considering. We have a lot of people everywhere in the world. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending, of course, where you are. Um, okay, we see the comments. We will mute everybody but me. Sure, so Freddy will do this. Okay. So as you see, so we are two to give the training. So there is Freddy Peters and myself, Laurent de Wilde, both solution architect at Enfocus. We know already a lot of you, but maybe not everybody. So welcome to this blended learning. So as you saw in the mail, in the invitation we sent, it's a mix. It's a mix of learnings. We had a list. We sent a list. Some were mandatory, other were optionals, and of online training, of course. We will have 3 sessions. So one today about PitStop Pro Inspector and object editing and so on. We also have a lot of topics underneath this. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we speak about global changes and action lists. And on Wednesday, we'll explain pre-flight, certified PDF, smart pre-flight, and PitStop server. As we said, so there is one presenter. So it's me at the moment. During the session, we will mix, and Freddy will present another part of the session. So we have one presenter and one panelist. So Freddy is panelist at the moment. So it means that he is checking the Q&A pod. So we have the chat pod and the Q&A. But please, if you have questions, so use the Q&A pod because there the advantage is that the answer are grouped together with the questions and so on. In the chat, it just mixed, which is less handy. We will, of course, try to answer to all your questions. Sometimes directly, sometimes not, because of course we have a planning for our training, and if we know that we will answer to that question later in the training, we of course won't answer directly to it, but we will check all your questions. Okay. After the training, you have the possibility to pass a certification test. So there are 2 of them. There is a first PitStop Basic test. This is the URL, but of course you will receive the recording, so you will see it. This is the basic test, and we also have a PitStop Advanced test. And if you succeed for the test, well, you have a new title, which is a Focus Certified PitStop User for the basic test, and Focus Certified PitStop Expert for the advanced test. After the test, if you succeed, of course, you will also receive a nice certificate like this one. Well, it's a certificate you can also add on your LinkedIn profile. So we encourage you to do that, to share it with your peers. Okay. Oh yeah, Freddy, tell me, when you pass the test, it will last about between 1.5 hours or 2 hours. So, but again, there is a explanation when you register for that. You can link it. You can add it on your LinkedIn. So I did it for my certificate. So in LinkedIn, you get the license and certification button where you can add it. We will, when you succeed, we will send you an email. In this email, of course, you will have a link. You will have a URL to your certificate. So then you are able to download it, to print it. And if you use this URL, you paste it under credential URL in LinkedIn, well, then you can with it and it can appear there. And as you can see, this is the result on your LinkedIn profile. So always nice to share with your peers, with your customers, of course, so they know You know what I'm talking about. The training files. During the training, we will use some files, and we also give you the files so that you can play with them. And this is the we used to files. Um, only one or two files at the moment in there, but we will add them during the training. Okay. There is also extra training material, of course. Okay, I see the messages there. The mics, we try to avoid it. I don't know where is it coming from. Oh, is it you? Are you muted? Okay, is it when I'm moving? Okay, we'll try to fix this. There is extra training material. We have our PitStop product manager, Andrew Bales Collins, known as Mr. ABC. He organized a monthly PitStop workshop, and with this URL you can access the last ones, and you can also register for the new ones. There is also a LinkedIn official and focused PitStop user group, also managed by Andrew. And of course, as already mentioned in the list of trainings I sent, there are extra e-learnings, what's new, movies, webinars, and also those workshop recordings are all available on our website, on our learning platform. Okay, so now I suggest keep calm and do not disturb. Training in progress. Okay, you can print that and put that on your door for your colleagues. Okay. Okay, so I have a file here that I will use to first demonstrate the basic use of the inspector and the basic modifying of my document, editing of my document. So I will use my selection tool. Well, my tools are there. It's all explained in the e-learnings, but you see all tools are there. The PitStop tools are there. You have to add them. And when you do that, they are accessible. And what I also did here, I added so they are accessible here at the right hand side. Okay, so resolution, I have to change that. Okay, right. Just wait. Okay, this is better. Right, so you see all my PitStop tools are there. I can use PitStop Inspect and so on. And also I added some tools there, the tools that I use very, very often. Okay, so I select I use my selection object, and in my preferences of PitStop, I define that my inspector has to appear directly. So because of course, when I use my selection object, the second thing I always do is opening my inspector. So now it's just automatic. It's a setting in your preferences, and now I can begin to check my file. I can examine my file. Okay. So with the inspector, with the selection tool, I select objects. It can be images, it can be text, and so on. It can be vector tools, and then I can see the properties of those tools. Of course, the fill, the stroke, the overprint, and so on. If it's an image here, I can see resolution of my images, and so on. Well, of course, if we have big files with a lot of pages, we will not click on every object and to see every setting. So that's where we will use pre-file profiles. So we will explain this later on Wednesday. But here with manual editing, so I can check my file. I can also measure here. So my ink coverage. So you see when I click in it, I can see the amount of ink I have on this particular place, on this one, and you see it's interesting. You see here that this is my Pantone warm red. This is the other one, my yellow Pantone, and so on. Okay, this is the eyedropper tool. Another tool that I use very often is a tool from Acrobat. Is this the preview color separation? So you can find this under the print production group here. So in Acrobat Pro, you've got all those settings, and so the output preview, well, as the name says here, will of course will show me the file. I, of course, will simulate overprint. By the way, the overprint, but Freddy will explain more about overprint. But this is also a setting in the preferences of Acrobat that should be on, of course. And here you can see I can put my different separations on and off to have a look at the file. So as you see, if I remove everything that is CMYK, I clearly see that those elements here are Pantone colors. Okay, so that's of course very interesting to use and to know and to check that the right color is on the right separation. Okay, so now let's edit this document a bit. You see here the word, the first name Tim is in red, but in CMYK red. It's not on the Pantone. Okay. So what I will do, I will modify it. I will change the color first. So I select this one. I select here Tim, and here I see that it's CMYK. Of course, I can here easily change those values in CMYK, but I can also use actually other colors. I can convert it to RGB, well, which of course in this case is not ideal for printing, but or spot color, or I can use the color picker, and then I see here my document spot colors. So I can easily, select this yellow or this warm red. So I can easily select the colors for my document. I can change the tint. Okay, and it's done. And now it's in the right separation. So both first name and name will appear on the right color. Okay. Now I will change the text, for instance. So I will close this and I will edit the file. So edit, I have a lot of tools here, and I will edit the text line. I will double click, and for instance, I will type my own first name here. Okay, and this is interesting because in the file there is some kind of shadow or a fake shadow. It's just a second object with the same text in black, and of course I only edited one. So now the problem is it's pretty, as you can see here, it's pretty difficult to select the other text underneath here. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes not. So I will use a better solution. I will select the first one, and with the right click, I have here a contextual menu, and I will hide the selection. Okay, so now the text is hidden. It's not deleted, it's just hidden. And by this way, it is now, of course, easier for me to select, you see, this text now and to change it also. Okay, done. And now if I want, of course, to the other text to appear again, just here, do a right click somewhere and I say show all. I select show all. And everything that was hidden manually comes back now. And indeed, I have as you can see, I edited both texts. Okay, so now it's done, but as you see, my name is a bit longer, and so here that's not very nice. So I will move the selection. Okay, I can move, I can resize. So I will select it. To select, of course, the element, you can select the first one, and with the Shift key, you can select other ones, and so on. Again, in this case, it's not easy to select the Pantone text and the black text underneath. So I will draw a selection rectangle. So I will draw a rectangle like this. Okay. And what I did, I also pressed on my Alt key on my keyboard. So this has the advantage that it will only select the items in my selection frame. So I won't select, for instance, the image in the background. Okay. And now I'm able to move this text. I can use the move tool here, or I can do it by clicking on the command key on my keyboard here. I can then move my text, okay, like this. Okay, this is one way. I can also, of course, here in my inspector, I have the X and Y coordinates of my text, of my object I selected. Okay, depending the X and Y of the center, of the upper left corner, and so on, like you have in Adobe software here. You can change this. I can, if I want to resize, for instance, I can do that here very easily. You see, I can here link. Of course, I can close this lock so that my width and height of the object are linked, so that I will change it proportionally. And if I say 50 millimeters, for instance, okay. This should work. I will do it in another way. Okay. This is another way to change it. I can here make it bigger, make it smaller, and so on. Okay. You can rotate the object, you can flip it, and so on. We can also align object. I will do that with another document. Okay. So now let's say, for instance, I want here to change this text. So I want to change this text and also to move the position. So I want to select this image and to move it up. So okay, I select the image. I use the move tool, or I click on the command on my keyboard, and then I move the image. And what happens here is that we see actually I only moved the image, but this image is in a clipping mask, and I didn't select the clipping mask. So that's why I get this effect here. So I should use a better selection. So I will here undo. With you've got two undo. You've got the Acrobat undo and the Unfocus undo. Okay. You've got also here those arrows so that you can undo and redo your Unfocus actions. You can also, of course, add them on the upper bar if you want to. So how can I select now my clipping mask? This is a bit tricky to do unless you just select here, expand selection, and you say, okay, select also my clipping path. Okay, and you can see here I have create a selection, and when I move this, okay, I have my image with the clipping path, so that's okay. But there is still a background here and a stroke around it, so this is not selected. So I will undo. And now with the Shift key, I will add this one. Okay, so this is perfect. Okay. By the way, now that I have the right selection, I will group those objects together. Okay, so now you see the dotted lines around it. So now it's a group. I select something else, and when I come back here, I have my group in one go. So it's a lot easier to select and to move, for instance. Okay, and there is some, okay, I understand here. I think that I select my image as well, my background image. Okay, this is okay. I'm only moving this image and not the background image. Okay, so for instance, I move it here. Now I will again select this text. Again, I use the Alt key and I draw a frame around it, and only the items in the frame are selected. I used Command for my moving tool, and I also use Shift in combination to force it to move only vertically or horizontally, etc. Okay, as you do with other software. And again, I will move this one here, for instance. Okay, so let's say I want to move it a bit further. like this. Okay, so by this way I managed to move it and to move it completely without including the mask and so on, the clipping mask and so on. Another way to do it, and now I will, for instance, ungroup this one. Another way to select everything. So again, I select my image. It's only my image. My clipping path is not selected. I undo. We have a new tool since PitStop Pro 2019. It's called the Object Browser. And in the Object Browser, you see all your objects. Okay, so they are presented as a stack in PitStop, and you see all of them. And okay, and it also already shows my selected object, which is my image. And now I can easily here expand my selection. So just by using the Shift key, okay, sorry, oh, this one, okay, I select the clipped object. I have everything here. So, okay, as you can see, okay, again, I have my image including clipping path. Okay, I still have to add the object in the background. I will undo, move selection. Or actually, again, maybe a better idea is just to use the Alt key again and to draw this one. No, it doesn't work because I don't have the white frame. Okay, so now I have it. Okay, again, and I will group this. Okay. So what else can we do with this document? We can, okay, we change the color, etc. It's interesting. I see that we have layers in this document, and we also wanted to speak about layers because it can be sometimes a bit tricky. What I mean by this is you do your layout in, well, most of the time Adobe software, in InDesign or Illustrator. And in those software, you can use layers. So you can group the object on layers. It's very handy. You can put them on and off, etc. But in Adobe software, one object only appears in one layer. And also, all the objects that are in one layer are kind of grouped together and are then on top of the other layer that's in the bottom, and of course underneath another layer if you have one off top. Okay, in Acrobat it can be mixed. Actually, we can have objects that belong to different layers. Actually, we call it layer, but in the PDF definition, this is called optional content groups, or OCG. And so different objects can belong to different of those groups. And also, they don't necessarily are grouped together in the stack. So you can have an object from group A or layer A, and then another one on top from group B, and on top of that another object that is also from the first layer A. So that's perfectly possible. Here in this document, we use an action list that we will explain action list tomorrow. But we use an action list that actually puts all those documents on different layers. Sorry, items of our document. For instance, we have now one called images. I will just here show the whole document. We have one called images. So all the images are on that layer or part of that layer. Okay, we have one for text items, but for instance, we have another one for separation here. Okay, so what you see here is that the objects here are part of that separation layer. Okay. Okay, interesting to know. My name here, Laurent, is not part of that separation. That's because it was CMYK when we used those action lists to sort the items on those layers, and after that I modified it to CMYK. For instance, if I want to change it, okay, good idea, then I will just select it here, and under here under prepress, okay, as you can see, there is here one layer object, okay, and we see that this is on the text and on the device CMY key. Okay, so what I will do, I will assign this to layer separation. Okay. Right. Um, so I modified this, and now, as you can see, okay, that text is also on the separation layer. Okay. So as you can see here, we see that this item belongs to the text layer or the text group and the separation group. Okay, so that's also very interesting to know. Right. Okay. So again, we have different options here. We can also, and when you see, okay, if it belongs to one layer or to one group here, well, I can put it on and off. And if you don't want this, you can also say, okay, make always visible. So always visible, then it means there is no layer or group information on that object, and it will indeed be always visible. We'll also show tomorrow with the actions more possibilities with the layers. Okay. What I now want to show you is, okay, when we modify documents, we have something interesting called a place PDF. So for instance, let's say we have this document, okay, it's our brochure about the EPM module, okay, and as you can see here, the brochure is not completely finalized yet. We want to add a barcode. This barcode will bring you to this URL, okay? So this is not the definitive version, for instance, and we don't have the barcode on it. So I have the barcode here on another file, okay, just a vector. By the way, how can I look at it? How can I know if it's a vector or bitmap? We also have this information, show wireframe. So pretty interesting here. And you see here all the wireframe items of it. If I use the other document here, okay, use wireframe, then you see perfectly that we have text and we have those bitmap images. And here the InFocus logo is vector. Okay. So of course, when I selected this with my inspector, I see here that this is an image with that resolution, that compression, and so on. So if I want to add my barcode on there, what I will do, I will first select here my frame, my white frame, my white object, and then I will edit my PDF, and I will select here place PDF file. Okay. Yeah, that message is because in the previous test I used the file and the file has been renamed or moved, so it complains that it cannot find the file. Okay, so I will browse for my document. So here on my list of training files, inspector, place PDF, I select my barcode here. Okay, I use the first page of one because there is only one file, but if one page, sorry, but if you have many pages in that document, you can select the page you want to place. Okay, I can also select the box. Okay, I have 3 boxes. I will explain the boxes just after this. I have 3 boxes in my PDF here. They are all the same, so it doesn't change anything. But if they are defined with other dimensions, then of course this will change, and I would see the results. And where will I place this? Well, I want to place this here. So the trick with PitStop is always first select, in this case, where I want to place this. when we change color, first select an object, and so on. And when you select something, it's easy to say here, grab area from selection. So as you can see, the coordinates here are now the coordinates of this object. Right, so I will place this PDF in this white square, and if the size is different, no problem. I can scale it. I can scale it to fit, or I can say none, and of course it won't scale it. Log aspect ratio, so the ratio between height and width will be kept. Otherwise, I can eventually select this out, but it's a bit dangerous. You will have distorted results. Okay, and I will apply. If I select here remove selected object, this means that the white square here will disappear. So if I don't have a white background here, my white background on the page will disappear. Okay, so you can optionally select this or not, and I will apply, and that's it. So my barcode is now placed on the file. Okay, perfect. Now. Yeah, of course, there are also alternatives for this one. Yeah, Freddy shows me for the barcode. There is also a possible. We have actions to add barcodes. So we will show that tomorrow, but it's a nice one. Okay, so in this case, I had my barcode existed as a PDF file, but tomorrow we will also show that we will add barcodes based on the values. Based can be a AIN code, a URL, etc. Okay, and we can also copy and paste from one document to the other. Yeah, that's also possible indeed. So what I can do here, I can then select my barcodes like this. I can then copy everything. I can go on this one. Okay, what we see here is an Acrobat bug. So I have 3 documents open, and when I go to another one, it doesn't work. Okay, right, I will paste it in this one. I will say, okay, paste. Okay, and you see my barcode is placed here. It's placed on the same coordinates if the document have the same size, of course, which wasn't the case here. And again, this can be changing. This can be modified in your preferences. In your preference, you can define that. Okay, and then again, I can move it there, and so on. Yes, Freddy, do we have questions? A question I have to answer at this moment? Okay, Cedric, good question. So this one, place PDF does not work with the PDF, the PitStop server. No. So this is something we will examine in the future, but no, it doesn't work. But we have other possibilities. I will show it tomorrow, but of course we have the add copied graphics. So and that one works with PitStop server. Okay. So we'll show that tomorrow. But for instance, another practical example here. Oh yeah, something I wanted to show here. I will close this. Don't save. Okay, don't save. So I open this document. Okay, I select it here now. Again, I use the edit. I say place PDF file. I select again my barcode here. Okay, it's the last settings here remains, so the anchor point and so are still okay, and then I paste it. Now, what happens if I don't have an object to select? No problem. I can also define a zone. So let's say here, I have an focus logo already, but I will add a second one. I can here select an area, okay, and I can select here. Let's say I want to here to add my logo. So I will use this. I will use place PDF again. I will select then focus logo. open. And then I will here grab area from selection. And now I have these coordinates and I will place it, apply. So this select area allows you to make a selection. So there is no object, but this selection is recognized by this here grab area from selection. So very interesting to place the object on the right page. So let's take another example, and it's this one. You were all invited, and you received an email. And in the email, we also referred to this document about the e-learnings you had to follow before the sessions. And that's a definitive document I sent you. But actually, how did we do that? Well, we used words, and we pasted all our text in words and all our URLs in words. Okay, so we placed it here. And we also added the logo. But we have two problems here. So I will open it with Acrobat. We have two problems. The first problem is that this logo was actually bitmap. Okay, so when you zoom in, it's not beautiful. So we prefer a vector object first of all, and then you see here all these URLs. Okay, it works. You see it, but it's the default blue color from Word for all the URLs, and actually we prefer and focus green, of course. So what I did here is I just simply deleted this object here, and I added our PitStop logo. So again, PitStop edit, and I select it. I select an area here, this one. Okay, let's say I select this. If I do it this way, it won't be perfectly centered, but I will solve this. And then I say place PDF. Okay. And again, add copy graphics with the action is another solution that we can use for this, and we'll explain it tomorrow in details. I select my PitStop logo here. Okay. In this case, it's my document with a frame here. The document has a width of 2010. Okay, but it could also be just a logo. Both are possible. And here I will then grab this selection, and as you can see here, it's not perfectly centered, and I will fix this. I will just modify it now. So I will say, okay, it begins on 0, and the width here should be 210, sorry. Okay, and I will scale my document scale to fit. Okay, and I will apply it, and done. And now my document is perfectly centered. My logo is perfectly centered on my PDF. Okay, I want to change the color of the text here. So I use my inspector and I select this. Okay, as you can see, it's this blue. So now, as I showed, I can use the color picker, and I can here. Okay, I don't have document spot colors here, but in my local here, I already have an in focus green. Okay, so I will use this one. If this focus green was not there, that's not a problem. I can create it. So I can just stay here, make a new color. Okay, make a new color here, new. Okay, again, it's the focus green 2, for instance. I base it on the CMYK or other values, and I can also define this as a spot color. So depending if I want to put in CMYK or as a separation, I can select here as a spot color, and then I will enter my values here, and again, this is my color. Okay, I focus green 2. Okay. You want a spot color, Freddy? Okay, Freddy wants a spot color. Okay, done. Okay, so I have one, and let's say this one I will rename, and this is the focus green spot. Okay, so now it's clear, and eventually I can say this one is rename focus green CMYK. Okay, perfect. Done. Now you see the difference here. Okay. Okay, it's a spot color, and you see the alternative color values. Okay. So now, okay, and because my text here was selected, well, the color has changed. Okay, very nice, but it's only one text. Okay, so this is not, but I will make this better. And this is also spot color. So now I use this one, the separation. Okay, and I see my spot color here directly. So this is great, and this is normal. But what I wanted to show you is that sometimes that's also an Acrobat bug. Sometimes you define spot colors, and when you then go to the output preview, they don't appear here. So what you have to do, you have to save your document, close it, and open it again, and then you will see your spot colors. Okay, now I want to change all my URL and those lines in one go. Okay, so I have two solutions for this. I have a solution from today, which is actually I will use the select similar objects, and by this way here, then when you click this, you've got an extra setting in the inspector, and I can then select all the items with the same fill color. Okay. Select one. Okay, right. Now I have all my objects, and then I will just here go to my color, and I will again use my color picker, and then I will use that focus green spot color that I created here. And as you can see, everything was changed in one go. Okay. So this is a nice way to use it. I will show you a second document when I will do the same change. So it works fine, but this selection of similar objects only works on one page. So if you have a document with several pages, you have to do it page by page, which is not very handy. But then we have other solutions. We have the global change that we will use tomorrow for this, or we can also create actions and so on and so on. So more about this tomorrow. But okay, so when I look at the result here, okay, this is perfect. All my text is in this spot. Okay, it was not the case for the logo here, but I can do this now again. I can select similar objects based on the fill color, like this one. Select perfect, and I will here select my and focus green spots. Okay, and so this should be perfect now. Okay, yeah, indeed, it's all in the focus green. Actually, what happens is it's all black. You see it as black. That's normal. It's when you display several color, each plate is displayed in its own color. When you only display one color, then it's always displayed as black. So I see it as black, but of course it's green in the final document. Okay, perfect. So this works fine. I will save my document. Okay, PitStop Pro Server Online Training, and now I call it spots. Perfect. I have another document here. Okay, so what we have a drawing with a clipping. So it's a picture, some text, and PDF, and we have a clipping path, and then this was nested together. So using a switch and using the Griffin software. So it places as many as possible on a given size, and you can see it's all nested, all gang together. And we also here have those black bullets here, and this is used for registration on the cutting table. Okay, so actually what I have this file with cut contour, and then what was printed is this one, so the same file but without those cutting lines that was printed, and then after that we wanted to cut the file. So the same software will also generate one cutting file for me. So that's the cutting file. Okay, if I open the cutting file and I check at the separations, again, this is CMYK. So, well, it of course depends on the options you use when you generate this one. But this one is CMYK. So again, I will change this. I select one. I use here the PitStop edit. I use select similar objects. Okay, it's a stroke color in this case. Come on, stroke. Yeah, like this one. Okay, I have to first go in this tool and then select the stroke color, and again I will change this. I will here change my stroke color picker, and okay, I have already saved it. So this is my cut color. Okay, again spot color, right? And then I select these ones. It's based on the fill color. Okay, perfect. And I will modify them, color picker, and I will use the reg mark color, again a spot color. Okay, perfect. So now my file is okay now, and okay, and this is what I wanted to show you as I explained. You see, my file is okay, but despite that, I don't see here the spot colors. So what I have to do, I have to save my file. Okay, cactus. Let's call it the OK file, and then I will close it. And when I open it again, now my spot color appear. Okay, so this is quite also important to know. So sometimes, well, I mean, you do the things perfectly, and still you don't see the expected results, and so because of this display bug in Acrobat. So save your file, close it, open it again, and your problem will be solved, unless of course you did something wrong. Okay, right. I was checking my list of the topics I want to show you. Okay. By the way, if you have questions about this, just use the Q&A, and Freddy is having a look at all your questions and will answer if necessary. Okay. Another interesting aspect of the PDF is the page boxes. So we've got 5 boxes. So here you see an A4 document. Okay, it looks like an A4 document, and it looks like there is no bleeds and there are no crops, no crop marks. So this is not perfect for printing. Well, it depends if I want to print it digitally, but if I want to print it on offset with bleed and so on, it's not perfect. But actually, it is. So what I will do here, I will use this one, show page boxes, and you see this in the view category. So we have show page box element here. And when you use this, you see that my document is bigger. You see the hidden elements here. Okay, because I have a trim box. I have many boxes. There are 5 of them, and I will show the boxes here with the inspector. When you go here, you see the boxes. You see 5 of them. Okay, there is a media box. You always have a media box. If you only have one box, it's the media box. The art box is not very often used, but we can do things with that. For instance, I could define an art box just around this image, and when I import this file into InDesign, for instance, when you enable the import options, you also have the possibility to choose the box that you want to resize the document or to crop the document. So if you would then use the art box, you would have just that image, for instance. So that can be used sometimes. It's mainly tricky, but well, it's one nice trick you can use. Okay, in this case, I will just remove it. You've got actions here, so you can remove it this way. Okay, it doesn't show on my screen. Okay, now it does. I can remove the art box this way, or I can just here click on define art box, so now it's gone. Okay. So we have the trim box. The trim box here is displayed in blue. By the way, you can also, these are the default colors to display the boxes, but you can also eventually modify this in your PitStop preferences. The trim box, so this corresponds to the document, to the final format of the document. So in this case, it's an A4. You see this here. Again, the units can be changed in the preferences. So you see left, bottom, and the width and height. This is the cut dimension. Then we have a bleed. The bleed here, well, we have 3 mm bleed. Okay. And then we have the crop box. The crop box here is the same as the trim box. The crop box, that is the format, that is the box that will be shown. So Acrobat will always show your document in the crop box. So in this case, the crop box is indeed A4. So I saw an A4 document in front of me, even if there is more information. Acrobat always shows that, and unless you enable this option, of course, with PitStop, if you display the page boxes, then you see more. Okay. And then we have the media box. The media box is the biggest one and contains all our objects. So what I will do here, for instance, I will remove all the boxes. Okay. And as you can see, I cannot remove the media box. Okay, this one always. Okay, and now as you see, I can put this on or off. There is no change. Okay. And what I will do, I will now define the boxes again. So in this document, we have crop marks, and that's very interesting because we can use these. When I select the crop marks, okay, this is there is a stroke, and the stroke is the separation color. Okay, so there is the registration color, and we have a nice function in PitStop. We have more than one, but in this case, we can actually set by detection. Okay, we can set by detection the trim box or the bleed box. We can here will define the trim box, and I select this, and as you can see here, my trim box is defined here on an A4. If again I show the boxes, there it is. Okay, so this was defined. So PitStop found the coordinates of the registration marks of the crop marks, and based on that, it could define automatically the trim box. Now for the bleed box, I will define this one, and I can see here, okay, I will center it, and I will define a width of 216, and here in the 8, I will say 303. Okay, and there it is. Okay, so this way I managed to define the boxes. There is no crop box, so what will be shown? Well, the same as the media box in this case. So I see everything. I see my crops. Okay, but this is important to know because, as I explained, if let's say now again, I will set the crop box. I will here you can say set the crop box to the trim box, for instance, and again it's A4. So again, you see the document here. You see only A4, but there is more information than that, and this is the way to see it. Okay. We can also select boxes based on the selection. So that's interesting. For instance, what I did here for this document is actually, well, for the training, I prepared the document and okay, I separated the barcode, but actually the barcode was in the document. Okay, so what I did here, I'll do it again. I will here edit again. I will again place my PDF, place use my barcode there. Okay, grab the area and place it. Okay, so this was my original document. So what I did here, I saved this as, okay, and I made my barcode 2 document, for instance, okay, and then very easily I deleted the 3 first pages, boom, and Acrobat crashes. Okay, this can happen. It's quite boring when I'm presenting, of course. Okay, so what I do here, I delete the 3 first pages. I have this one, and actually I use this. I use PitStop, and I selected here everything, and you see here I'm drawing a selection rectangle, and I don't use the Alt tool, so I want to also select everything that is touching a rectangle. Okay, a selection rectangle. Okay, like this. Maybe I forgot something, so then it's a good idea to use this one to see if you haven't forgot anything. Okay, looks fine. And what I will do now, you see here, there is again this white square behind the barcode. So I can use this. I will select it, and then again here in my boxes. Yeah, that's the first way to show the boxes. And here I can modify them, and then I can okay, I can use this one, and I can use the selection. So here I can say set media box to the selection at the left side, the right side, etc., or all sides. Okay, and there is. And now you see this document has the size of my barcode, plus here a few millimeters. So that's a perfect image to use into place. Okay, and now I save this. Okay, and this is the barcode I used for my demo. Okay, right. So I will also show something else now. Um, I will edit some text. Okay, so that's also very interesting to use and to know. So I have here the business cards. I use the business card of my colleague. Okay. Um, yeah. Okay. So this is the front. This is the back. I just added an extra page for this demonstration. Okay. So let's say, of course, if I have the original document, the InDesign document, and if I do a new version for me, I will use the InDesign document. But if I don't have it, well, it might happen that I will then use this PDF and modify it to make my business cards. Okay, no problem. I use PitStop Edit, and I will edit this text. Okay, and here I will change the title. And okay, I type the first letter, and I have this message that appears. And this message tells me this is a subset font. Okay, so this is a subset font, and then some characters may appear as spaces because I don't have all the characters in the PDF document. Okay, I can see it here actually. When it's selected, I can see this is an embedded subset font. There's also another way. Of course, pre-flighting. We will show pre-flighting Wednesday. We can use that. But here I have the properties of the document, and here on the fonts you can see that the fonts are embedded as a subset, so not completely. So this means that, okay, if I want to change, I say, okay, never mind, and I begin to type it. Okay, so actually it works. There is no problem. Well, I'm very lucky here because on this font, all those characters were used and are available in the document. Perfect. Now, if I change this one and I type my name, okay, then we have a problem here. You see, there are two letters that are not present in the document. Okay, so this is not correct. So how can I solve this? Yeah, the while, but I prefer to be wild. So what I will do here, you see the embedded subset, and here I see the name of the font. Okay, so then I will change the font. Okay, so I will click on here, and I have a list of fonts. I see the fonts that are on the page. Okay, and indeed I also see my text. So you see in this font I don't have any character. On this one, okay, you see that those letters are missing. Okay, that's on the page. On the document, on the complete document, well, in this case there is no difference, but it could be, you know, that I have another font used further in the document. On here, on my system, so on my computer, okay, and actually, okay, on my computer, and I will look for the font. So it's called Proxima Nova, and actually this font is present on my computer. Okay, it's open on my computer, so I can now select it here, and you see now the text is complete. I will apply it, okay, and indeed now the text is okay. So I will here edit the text line, and I will remove this one. Okay, so okay, so this is the way it works. Of course, we will show actions tomorrow, and we have actions to embed font complete. Oh yes, and indeed I forgot to check something, but Freddy is there, and Freddy sees everything, so very good. I wanted to check if you were following Freddy. He was. And here, this one, don't embed, so that's not a good idea. So I should embed the font completely if I want to edit further, or if it's okay and I don't want to make to share my document, I can say embed subset. Okay, I will embed it completely. And indeed, now you see it's embedded. So now it's perfect. Okay, and I can further modify my document. Okay, so that's very interesting. Just to show you here, so this is my InDesign file. So actually, well, okay, I started from InDesign. I could use, of course, the InDesign file to modify it, but I wanted to show you how you do that in Acrobat with PitStop. And what I want to show you here is that when we export the PDF file, okay, so I say file export PDF file, okay, let's call it something. I save the file, and here you've got the different options, and by advanced you see here that fonts will be, so Acrobat will, InDesign will subset the fonts when the percent of the characters used is less than 100%. So actually it happens every time, okay? It will always subset the fonts in this case. I made a second export where I wanted to have the font completely embedded, and for that I put this on 1%. So because I use more than 1% of the characters of this font, it won't be subset. Okay. Yeah, I can explain. Okay, Gopal. Okay. So, so the question: why why should we embed a subset and not the old font? Well, we will look at the size of the document. Okay, in this case, this is the subset, the document with the subset font. Okay, so it's 99K, and the other one with the complete font is 126K. Okay, so in this case we don't have a huge difference. Okay, because we don't have a lot of fonts. Okay, if we have more fonts, of course, the difference will be higher. And if we use fonts with more characters, and then I'm thinking about Chinese font and so on, then the difference can be huge. We have a document of 3 pages with a bit of text, but with the Chinese font embedded, and it is 9 megabytes. Already, if I'm correct, it's 9 megabytes. So what we then do, we modify the document with action list, and when that's done, in our action we then we subset the font, and this has a huge impact on the size of the document because it's document we want to send by mail. 9 megabytes is too much, and when they are reduced, we can send them easily by mail. So that's the explanation. Okay. Okay. So what I will do here, I will open the other document, and this one has the font completely embedded. Yes. Yes. To make my cursor bigger, not by default, I think. I don't know, because people don't see my cursor. Is that the question? Not by default, I think, unless accessibility. If somebody has an idea, you can drop us a line about it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Freddy, your voice is very metallic, but we'll see when you are presenter. Okay. So in this case, I have the same document, but the fonts are completely embedded. So this means that I won't have those problems with the characters. And what I want to show you now is this one. So I want to modify the text, but a whole paragraph. It's interesting to know because look, in Acrobat, sorry, in the PDF, the text is different, as you can see here. It's a lot different than in InDesign or Illustrator. Okay, in InDesign or Illustrator, well, in InDesign certainly we have a text frame and we have the text in there, and all the text is considered as one paragraph. It is absolutely not the case with PDF, and you can see here we have different text segments, and the text segments here and here. Well, most of in here it's very clear. It happens when we change the font. When we change, so because each segment has only one font. Okay, so we have different segments. But sometimes it can also be in the middle of a sentence or the middle of the word. It also depends if you have special kerning and those things. And I will simulate this here in my text. I can split this in words. Okay, and now you see I have different segments here in words. Okay, so I can move just this one. Okay, undo, move, selection. This is also, I can split in words. I can also split in characters. Okay, and this is actually also tricky if, for instance, you want to change the size here. If I say 4, look, each object is resized, but separately. Okay, so this is not right. So I should undo this, and I should first merge them together. Okay, so I will then merge into text lines. Okay, so now it's again one object, and if I change it now, so now it's okay. Okay, that's one way, or I use my text editor to convert, etc. Undo. By the way, something we also have here, we have the possibility to convert text to outlines. So as you see now, there is no font anymore. It's just a vector object. Okay. In this case, I do it manually, but we can also do that again. We'll show you tomorrow with actions uh, that we will be able to convert or all the text in a PDF or just part of it to outlines. Yes, Fred? Okay. Display. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So this is bigger now. This is easier to see. Okay. Um, right. So I was talking about this possibility to convert text to outlines. Okay. Um, okay. I did it manually. Again, I can do that with actions, etc. Okay. Now what I want to do here. Okay, I explained you the text in Acrobat is not the same as in Illustrator, InDesign, etc. So it's made of pieces, and so if we want, okay, in this case, if I have a look, well, okay, each sentence is one piece, so that's already simple. Okay. Oh no, you see here we have difference. But now what happens if I want to modify my paragraph? So for instance, if you need to make comprehensive here, I will modify the word changes. So in my PitStop edit, so in this case, I should not use the edit text line, but I should use the edit paragraph. And edit paragraph, as the word says it, will recognize here this text as a paragraph. Okay, so great. Now I have the possibility to select this, and if you need to make comprehensive, let's say modify. Okay, sorry. Okay, modifications. You see, I modify my text. Of course, well, there is no hyphenation, so I will just type a hyphen manually. Okay, there is no composition engine as we do have in InDesign, but still we can make some nice changes, and this can be very handy, of course, if you don't have the original document. Okay, perfect. So this is a tool to use in that case, and we can also, for instance, find and replace text. So let's say I want to find the word text and to replace it with text in uppercase. Okay, then I can say, okay, find and replace, and you see here my text is being modified. Okay, works perfectly. Um, well, okay, I have here. This is an issue, but I will correct this. Okay, and by this way, I managed to modify my text again. So this is a handy tool to use. Um, okay, I showed you with the page boxes that I can look at the element outside of the document. Okay, well, outside of the page boxes. There's also a new function that we have in PitStop 2019, and you know the expression to think outside of the box. Well, in this case, what we will do is we can also show outside document outside of the box or object. Sorry, you can show object out of the box. If I look at this, okay, it's a big map. That's the final document, but I will look at it in wireframe mode. Okay, and you see that some uh, some drawings of this map actually go to the edge and actually go far beyond. And in the PitStop view, I now have the possibility to say to show object outside of the page box. And you see this. So this again will only show the object. It won't change the page boxes, it will only show them. But it's pretty interesting to see what is there outside of the document. Okay. Freddy, that's it from my part, I think. I will make you presenter now, and you can do it. Okay. Or should, yeah, unless there are questions. So if you have questions for this part, you can use the Q&A now, or maybe I will also add something extra while I'm talking about the new features. Oh, again, we have this bug here. Okay, so yeah, another example for the object browser is this one. Okay, so we have here a big document. It's a map again, a lot of vector elements. Okay, and let's say I want to modify this one and all the other colors. Again, I can use the select similar objects, or I can use here the object browser. Okay. Or let's say I want to, for instance, to modify here all the trees. Okay, I can do this. I can scroll. I can use a shift key to select all the trees, and okay, the small one, the big ones, and so on. Okay, until here. And when I select them in the object browser, of course, they are selected in my document. So now it's very easy to here modify the color of it, of the color or the settings of it. And as you see here, okay, so that's the object browser. We also have something new, which is rasterize. That's an important one. So, okay, we have here documents, and if I show this as vector, okay, you see here, these are all vector elements, so it's okay, it's very good. But sometimes you have so many vector elements that it becomes annoying to rip the document. That can happen, or also to sometimes to display the document on an iPad, for instance. When you see a lot of newspaper, etc., make a PDF version for the newspaper on the iPad. And I remember some documents with weather cards where you had a lot of vector drawings, and this was very slow to display on an iPad. Certainly in the beginning of the iPads, where they were not as fast as today. So what we have here as a solution is, look, I will again, I select the map here this way. Okay, when I do this, okay, I can see the items are selected. If I select the last item, the summary, I can see here how many anchor points in path we have. So we have 28,000 anchor points in this small map. We also have another file with even more. So what we can do then in the PitStop edit, we can here we can rasterize the selection. You find it here, or you find it here on the PitStop. You see here, well, my cursor is bigger, and also this spinning pizza wheel of death is bigger. That's because there are so many points that when I do something, Acrobat has to think a bit longer. Okay, under object, I can rasterize the selection. So of course it's the same. And when I do this, I have the possibility to define the amount of the resolution of it. Of course, I will generate a bitmap. So I want a resolution of, for instance, 600 dpi, and you can select the compression. If you select a JPEG compression, then you will have some artifacts. I will use a zip for this one. I have different options, and I will rasterize it. It's also interesting to know that if you select uh, objects with different color spaces, they won't be mixed together. So they will be rasterized. But for instance, if there are two different color spaces, CMYK and RGB, for instance, well, you will have two separated bitmap objects. Okay, right. So here, and now you see here, I have a selection containing that amount of data, and here my image. That's my image, 600 dpi zip compression, and you also see it perfectly here. So now we have a bitmap. Okay, right. Freddy, it's your turn. So I will. Okay, so we will. Freddy will be the presenter. I will be the panelist. So I will answer the question from now. Okay, so here I will stop sharing first. Then, okay, Freddy Peters here, and I make you presenter, and then you have to make me panelist. Yes. It's metallic, very metallic, Freddy. That's okay.
Okay, I have Laurent's headset now. So I hope people can hear me. Is your sound on? The marketing one. Yeah, okay, fine. Please confirm that you can hear me. Cedric says it's nice, or is that nice? Huh? Yeah. Now, yes. Now it's okay.
Yeah, people. Okay, people can.
Okay, sound good. Perfect. Thank you. Right. I'm going to show you something which is more related to the PDF format itself, but that is still important, I think, when you have to analyze PDF files to see if they're okay and so on, and to understand what's going on. And I'm specifically talking about the subject of overprint on files. Now, a first remark I would like to repeat. Laurent already mentioned it, but here, in general, yeah, for the page display, use overprint preview. That should be on always. Yeah. Please check that on your computer. The default is only for PDF X files. Yeah, and so here in this particular file, I have simply white text, so 0% CMYK in overprint on top of a gray background. And because the overprint is not displayed, you can read the white text. So that's not okay. That should be always to start with. Now, let's have a look at this object here. Do we have overprint or not? I think we will all agree that we don't have overprint. And if we look at the overprint settings, we see indeed it is set to knockout. So I'm going to set that to overprint. So now we get overprint. My screen is not shared. I thought I share, yeah. Share screen. Okay, it's good that you mentioned that. Okay, good. Yeah, it's better. So, okay, right. Let me start again. I'll revert this. So I mentioned the general preferences here that your overprint has to be set to always. And here I open the file, with a couple of very simple objects. And when I select the top one and we look at the overprint settings, we see that it knocks out, and that is indeed what we see here. So that's the normal behavior for knockout. So I'm going to change that to overprint, and now we're going to see overprint. Well, we only see overprint in a part of the file. So there's overprint here between my magenta and the cyan in the background, and there's overprint, no overprint with the other cyan. Now, how would we explain that? And this is something that you must remember. The color spaces of the objects that are on top of each other play an important role in determining how overprint will behave. So this here is a CMYK object, this here is a CMYK object, and this here is a spot color. Yeah, or the technical PDF technical term for spot color is separation. Yeah, that is also something in PitStop. It's not 100% consistent. We have to admit that sometimes it'll use the PDF technical term separation. Sometimes it'll use the more user word spot color. Yeah. But okay, so this spot color, and we see that there is a difference in behavior between those two. Yeah. And you find this on page 487 of the PDF specification, where it says that CMYK objects overprint with spot colors, but not with other CMYK objects in overprint mode 0, which is the overprint mode of PostScript, the old one, which is in fact not overprint at all, yeah, as we can see. So let me change that to 1, and now we have overprint problem solved. Unfortunately, not completely, because we do see overprint now between this CMYK object and this CMYK object. But let me change something to this top CMYK object. I'm going to add 10% of cyan. Now, I want you all to build a mental picture for yourself. What's it going to look like? And as we're in the print business, our gut feeling tells us if we add 10% of cyan on top of 100% of cyan, we will have 100% of cyan. So if I now change this to 10, then what do we see? The overprint is gone. Yeah. The 10% of cyan is there, yeah, but we see that it gets, it doesn't overprint with the cyan anymore. And the explanation for that is that in overprint 1, and that is, by the way, also the overprint mode you will get when you use overprinting objects from Illustrator, from InDesign, from Quark. You know, so the OPM 0. Yeah, if you have CAD files and stuff like that, you will still come across OPM 0, but in most cases you'll get 1. But CMYK objects that overprint in OPM 1 mode only overprint in empty channels, right? So if there is no cyan in the top object, then the cyan from the back object will shine through. But if there is some cyan in the top object, then any cyan from other CMYK objects behind it will not overprint. And that's something which is really important to know. Also because just imagine what happens, suppose that this here was not magenta, but a spot color, and I convert it to CMYK. If the objects behind it are CMYK, then all of a sudden my overprint behavior can change because I change from one color space to the other. Yeah. Now you can also see that if you, well, there are of course multiple combinations. So I would invite you to do a couple of experiments, like here when we convert to RGB. What do we see? Well, that we have overprint between RGB and spot color, but we never have overprint between an RGB object and a CMYK object. Yeah, that's on page 502, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, in the second paragraph. Yeah. If we think about all the different color spaces that we can have, RGB, CMYK, with ICC profiles, without ICC profiles, LAB, device N channel, and so on, separation, of course, it's certainly not interesting to give an overview of all the different possibilities, but as a main takeaway, overprint is influenced by the color spaces of the objects, and not only the top objects, yeah, both objects that are well, that overprint with each other. Yeah, I hope that's clear. Now, to make things worse, let me go to the transparency tab. And as we can see here, it says that the blend mode of this object, the transparency, again, here we have a terminology that is sometimes a bit mixed. Sometimes you read about blend modes, sometimes you hear about transparency. Well, they usually refer to the same thing. Now, when I take the multiply one, yeah, this here, this multiply blend mode, that is the one that we as print people experience as being the one that will give us true overprint. Yeah, and this, when you use the multiply, then it doesn't matter what color spaces we're talking about, yeah, because this here, this one is still RGB, yeah, but you see now it overprints with my defined CMYK object. Yeah, so multiply is the way to go. Yeah. However, again, yeah, just to make things a bit confusing, yeah, we're in overprint. So let me put this in knockout. Yeah. So now it's a knockout. Do we see knockout? No, we don't see knockout. Yeah, that's because the overprint setting for an object that has transparency, yeah, the transparency takes precedence over the overprint setting, yeah, and it's the transparency that you see, and whether you put it on overprint or on knockout, yeah, you can see it here, no difference, OPM 0, yeah, no difference because of this here. So if you think this is confusing, this is confusing, yeah. But still, it's important that you know about this when you have such problems. But you have the tools in PitStop, and that is important, that you can select all those objects, that you can see their settings, so that you can analyze what's going on. Yeah. And let me confuse you a little bit more. I have another file here, which is yeah, about the same situation. Huh? So here we have overprint. So let me see. I select this object here, and this object is it's in knockout. It's CMYK, and it doesn't knock out. So you're going to tell, yeah, okay, but you've just told us it has transparency. So let me have a look at transparency, and here it says normal. So it doesn't have the multiply blend mode. And still we see a multiply blend mode being applied. So where does that come from? And the same here for the yellow. Yeah, this is also normal. Yeah. You say, yeah, but the other one was compatible. Okay, fine, you don't believe me. Where is compatible? I believe compatible and normal are the same. Yeah. So where does that come from? Well, if you pay attention, you will also see that yellow frame around the objects. Yeah? And this is an indication that these objects are in what is called a form. Now, again, our object browser is very useful in this respect. because you see there's the yellow one selected. This is the magenta object selected, but they are both in a form. A form is like a kind of group. Now, again, terminology-wise, there are two types of forms in PDF. There are forms where you can fill in your name, you can tick a toggle, you can choose a radio button. Yeah, so the interactive kind of PDF that has interactive elements where you can type stuff with, and that you can also flatten into regular printable objects using some actions, perhaps more on that tomorrow. But that's one type of form. This is a different type of form. It's also called a form, but it's in fact some sort of grouping. Now, the group itself, the form itself, can also have transparency settings, can also have blend modes. And we see that here, the multiply comes from the form and not from the object. Yeah. So again, when you're analyzing overprint problems, then please also consider that the form plays a role in this respect, and that's why I was so happy for me. If you were to ask me name your top feature of PitStop 2019, I would say it's the object browser, because it makes selecting objects so much easier. You have seen a couple of examples from Laurent, like where you have an image and you also need to select the clip mask, that this makes life a lot easier, but also when you have objects that are combined into a form. And this is something, of course, that as a user, you don't decide that. It's the application that creates the PDF that will determine whether or not to put an object in a form. Yeah? And I have seen many cases already where you even have individual objects that are placed into a form and where the transparency is applied to the form and not to the object. Yeah. So when you select the object and you look in the inspector and say, F, what's going on? Huh? Well, yeah. Have I said it often enough now to that people will think about that? What about white RGB in overprint? I wouldn't know. Let's give it a try. So here, all right, it works the other way around. Then okay, right, yeah, good. So full RGB is white. And then this one is knockout. It doesn't do anything. Oh, but we had the multiplier. So I'll remove that so that we don't have, because with multiply, sorry, we have the overprint behavior that we think is intuitive. So here you see the result. If it's white RGB, then it won't overprint. Yeah, and before you ask me, and how about this and how about that, it's there for you to try it out. There are hundreds of combinations that you can make. Yeah, so I can't possibly show them all, and I also don't think that's the point, because in real life you will also not see all possible combinations. Yeah? But at least you now have the knowledge and the tools to simply try it out and see what happens. Okay. Quarter of an hour. Right. Next thing about PitStop is something in the view menu. We have a user interface feature called workspaces, that are not very often used, perhaps also not very well known. So we want to draw your attention to that. As you can see, for workspaces, It's the same type of presets that you have for pre-flight profiles, action lists, and so on. So you should have seen that in the e-learnings that we asked you to prepare. Now, what is a workspace? Well, a workspace simply defines a couple of settings for my user interface. And that can be quite handy. Like, for example, here the Acrobat view settings. Like, for example, hey, I want to force the overprint preview to on when I apply this particular workspace. Yeah, and there are Acrobat settings that you can influence, but also PitStop Pro view modes. I always want my page boxes on. I don't want to see wireframes. There are other preferences and so on that you can, like show the and focus inspector. If you always do the pre-flights and so on, you can also ask to show the processing panel. I think it's easy enough to understand that you can customize this for yourself. Now, when you are the only user of a computer, I can see that this is perhaps not, well, not perhaps, this is definitely not the number one feature you would be looking at. But for our customers, our common customers that are using PitStop in production, very often on desktop computers that are shared by different people in different shifts, then it makes sense to say, okay, these are my settings, apply, yeah, and it pops up with certain settings that I have added to that, yeah. Now that green thing that pops up, that's the next thing I wanted to talk about, which can also be quite interesting. That's in the PitStop page boxes. There is such a thing as design layouts. Yeah. Now, what is a design layout? This is something that you can. Oh no, sorry, I wanted to edit that one. That is something where you can define a number of visual aids to look at a file. Yeah, I should take another file as an example for illustrating that a bit better. Yeah, so here, for example, I opened a book, yeah, and books, novels, they tend to have text areas, as they're called, and this text area is something which is known usually, what the size should be, where its position is relative to the spine and to the top. So you can specify design layout for that. So which I did. I said, okay, here's a certain text area. The text area is placed relative to the art box. It has this green color, and also I'm setting the art box on this particular file using an action list. I can also add guides. Here is a vertical and horizontal center line. That's the red lines that you see. Now, vertical lines through the middle for checking a book are not relevant, but it's just wanted to add them so that you can see that you can define zones as well as guides, and play around with it. I think it's not that difficult to set it up. Yeah, it's just that you are now aware, at least, of the fact that there is such a tool. Yeah, that you can add zones and guides as a visual aid. I repeat, visual aid. These are not PDF objects. Yeah. When I save this file and I open it again, then or I print it, then you should not be afraid that this green background is going to come out green. Yeah. This is just part of the design layout so that I have a visual aid to check it. I'm thinking of yeah, checking text areas in books, or you could check the position of columns in newspaper, the position of columns in magazines. There is one standard example here of design layouts. Activate a DVD label. Yeah. So here it shows you a DVD label, so you can make a distinction between like this dark blue area is of course a non-printable area, so that you can see that when you apply that, and somebody gives you a design for a DVD, you have a visual check to see if there isn't anything in the non-printable area. And so on. Again, certainly not the number one important feature of PitStop, but from experience I know that it's one of the lesser known ones. And please make a mental note of the fact that this exists. It may very well be that you now immediately think of a possible use case somewhere at one or other customer, or perhaps in a couple of months when you come across something where you say, hey, I know something here, create a design layout, apply that to the file so that you have this visual check. Any questions that came in the meantime? No, no, okay, good. No, you cannot make a link between the workspace and the user login, but well, that's also why when I look at this workspace here, that's why I called it Freddy, yeah, so that I can say, okay, this is my workspace, yeah. So when I open up Acrobat on this particular computer and I see, hey, shit, this doesn't look like what I need, huh? I click here on Freddy up, and it's back to where I want it to be. Yeah. So it's quite quick to activate your personal preference. Yeah. Okay. I have two more, yeah, a bit special topics. Right, one is here in the inspector. Let me, yeah, jump to some file. Yeah, just selecting an object. Okay. I want to change the color of this object. No, here, yeah, and go to the color picker. Right, I can change that to, for example, this particular Pantone, yeah, from the list of standards. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, now on the topic of converting to spot colors, yeah, Laurent already mentioned this alternate color space. There is one more thing I would like to say about that, because the choice of alternate color space is not without its importance. PDF, technically speaking, every separation, every spot color must have an alternate color value. The reason for that is that a software that reads a PDF file cannot possibly know how to represent a certain spot color. You could say, yeah, of course, but everybody knows what a Pantone 100 looks like. Well, yeah, if you have a Pantone table in your software, then you know. Yeah, and what if I call this, yeah, this is a brown table, so I create a spot color and I call it brown table. Yeah, well, what brown is that? Huh? Good luck, huh? So that's why the PDF specification says when you create a Pantone, when you create a spot color, you must always add an alternate color value. And the software that reads this will say, okay, I don't understand Pantone 100, but hey, look, there's an alternate color value. It's 56% yellow. Okay, I know what to do with that. Yeah, and the color can be more or less accurately rendered. Yeah. The same if I take another one here. Here, I take this one, and now it's LAB. Yeah. So again, the software that reads the PDF is supposed to be able to do some color conversion on these LAB values, so that when it says, I don't know what Pantone 100C looks like, oh, it's 92L minus 8A and 66B, so I know what that looks like, and gives me a more or less accurate representation of that particular color. But now, although in both cases it was Pantone 100C, you will see that the way in which the yellow is represented can, of course, be different. Yeah? Because the conversion from CMYK to whatever output device I'm using, or from LAB, whatever values it is, to the output device for which the software generates the output, you're not necessarily going to get the same result. Yeah? And this was, I remember, it's already quite a couple of years ago, but still, I believe Adobe changed their settings, the alternate color values of the Pantones from CMYK to LAB. Now, theoretically speaking, LAB is the better choice, yeah, because LAB is device independent, and CMYK, of course, is device dependent. So, theoretically speaking, that was a good move. But it was also a move that brought along quite a few problems, yeah, because people had version X of Creative Suite created the PDF. The PDF was processed. It gets printed. You have a certain result. Yeah. Then update of the CS of the Creative Suite version. Yeah. A couple of months later, creation of the PDF for exactly the same file without any change whatsoever. Gets processed through the flow. Printed result looks different. Yeah. Because the alternate color space in the first case was CMYK, alternate color space in the second one was LAB, with all possible complaints and problems. So keep an eye on this. Yeah. And there are also actions that you can map Pantones from a certain Pantone book onto another Pantone book, so that you can take control over the alternate color value of those colors. I hope that's clear. And in the same vein, what if you, and that can certainly be the case for customers in the large format printing, for example, yeah, that are not using Pantone colors for some applications, but RAL colors. Yeah. So RAL colors, these are used in the industry, yeah, for plastics, for paints, for walls, window frames, yeah, in aluminium, or traffic signs. Yeah, the alarm red of a traffic sign, that's not Pantone warm red. Huh? Yeah, that's a certain RAL color. Yeah, and you have, of course, also lists here of these RAL colors with alternate color values. Now, you can import those. So let me remove that one here. Yeah, here in the local list here, I'm going to do import, and where did I think I had that one here? This, okay. So you can import also Adobe swatches and Adobe Swatch Exchange and so on, but also a CSV file. And I have a CSV file here that is that I created with Excel that says here RAL colors as a title, and then on several lines RAL, and I simply picked 5 at random. Yeah, but of course I could have taken the complete list. The first column is the name of the color. The second one determines whether it's going to be a spot color or not. So that's 1 or 0, and then CMYK values. Yeah, it's a very simple CSV list, so it's accessible for anybody to make that. Yeah, I open that, and here are my RAL colors, and I can use those and change this into a RAL color. Yeah. So also something which is a bit special, but I think quite interesting to know about. Yeah. And just to finalize, there's also something we want to draw your attention to. It's an Acrobat function, yeah, but it's quite an interesting one because very often people ask about reducing file sizes and so on. Yeah, so there's stuff you can do in PitStop, but how are you going to check that? How can you analyze a file? Yeah, simply give it another name. Right? No, I didn't see the options. No, sorry. Save as. Save as here and optimized. Yeah. PDF files, and then you go to settings, and then you go to audit space usage. Yeah. So it is a bit hidden. Yeah? That's why we certainly wanted to make a point of showing you that. Yeah. But here you have an overview of what all the different aspects of the PDF file take up in terms of space, both in bytes and in percentages. Yeah. So Gopal, make the difference. Like you subset your fonts or you don't. What's the impact? How many bytes are being added? What is the percentage of the file size that is taken up by your fonts in this document? Or the same for your images. Yeah? And especially when you see that your document overhead is getting very high, then of course, yeah, you'll have to do something about that. There's lots of things that you can throw away in. I remember seeing PDF files that have embedded metadata, several megabytes of embedded metadata. So using an action to remove those is certainly a good idea in such a case. And here it's not a PitStop Pro thing, yeah, but still it's an interesting feature of Acrobat that you can make a comparison before and an after, yeah, of changes that you did with PitStop to see the effect on the file size. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah. Okay. So in the Dropbox, the URL of the Dropbox. Yeah. Yeah, but I don't have my. Okay. Yeah. No, it's in the browser. I think it's. Where do I have that again? Send me the link. Yeah. Airdrop. Yeah. EAW. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, here, this one. Okay, so yeah, the Blitz cover file that Laurent worked with is there. The nested cactus, the PitStop. Perhaps we should also put the overprint PDF file there. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, right now, as I'm on it. It's okay. I can probably drop it in here. No. If is it read only? It says plus. No, okay, no, it's read only. So we'll we'll put that in the same folder right after we finish those two files, so that you can play with that and it's okay. Or yeah, you can post it on the in the WebEx indeed. Okay. If there are no more questions, can you check the chat or the Q&A? Yeah. Thank you for taking the time to develop a little bit of training. We need an action to delete private data from Illustrator. That's for tomorrow, yeah. The private data from Illustrator. There's another one coming in. Is there still a limit of 3,000? 32,000 objects in the PDF file? No, there is no such limitation. There is no such. I'm not aware of such a limitation. 32,000 objects is not that much, huh? And if I've already seen PDF files that are more than 32,000 pages. So there is definitely not a limit of 32,000 objects in a PDF file. Anything else? Yeah, you posted the URL. How to check the version of the font? Well, when you select, then that was clicking on the link here using the PitStop. If I look at the inspector and look at the font here, I can see what type of font it is, whether it's a true type or open type. Yeah, that is something that I can see. Yeah, but other than that, yeah, there's nothing there. Yeah, there's also not to my knowledge anything like a true type 1.0 and a true type 1.2. Yeah, it's true type or it's open type. Yeah, or it's type 1 or type 3 font, and now you also have these new fonts. What are they called again? The SVG fonts. Huh? Yeah, the structured vector graphics fonts. That's but these are not, now these are not supported in PDF. Yeah, when you create a PDF file out of InDesign or Illustrator, and probably also Quark using SVG fonts, these fonts get converted to a type 1 font or a type 3 font. I'm not sure. You can see that when you open such a file, simply click on it, select it, and you will see that. So behind your back, there is a font conversion that takes place. Yeah, but what do you mean? Because trapping is sometimes used as a term for the small overlap that you create to compensate for misregistration, but sometimes it's also simply used as a term for one ink on top of the other, which is also called trapping. So in that case, it's overprint. So I don't know what is meant here in this particular case. PitStop does not have a tool to do the misregistration correction kind of trapping. Yeah, and if you say you have a problem with trapping with overprinting one ink on top of another, you can change the settings. You can change it to knockout. You can do things. So then yes. Yeah, we're done. Good. Thank you for participating, for joining the webinar in such great numbers. You have greatly exceeded our expectations. Thank you for that. And we hope to have you on the call again tomorrow. Have a nice day. Bye-bye. Nee, maar jij moet dat doen, denk ik. De